Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. And now, the champion, fighting out of Los Angeles, California. This man is a movie snob with a background in fighting and a lifelong addiction to all things superhero related. Presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed host of the show, the Iron Cube.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is episode number 160 of the Iron Coop Fights Movies. This episode is available on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and hosted by SoundCloud. I'm Keo, your host. With me on the show today are my co-hosts, Emerson.
Hey, what's going on?
And Everette.
Hey, what's up?
This week, the team reviews Batman and Robin, followed by movie, television, and video game news. I'm going to explain our rating system. On this show, we give the titles that we have watched a rating of win, draw, or loss. A win is a title that we would highly recommend, while a draw is a title we didn't love, but recognize others may appreciate. A loss means we do not recommend the title. If you have not seen the review of the week and would like to avoid spoilers, check the show notes for the timestamp so you can still hear our news sections. Here's the synopsis. The villains plot to freeze Gotham and to be the only remaining humans on the planet. What? That was his plan?
Yeah, Batman, don't you remember when he's like, I'll be Adam and evil.
Yeah, but Batman and Robin must come together despite their differences and their butler Alfred's deadly illness that only Freeze has the cure for. They find help from heroine Batgirl while they plan to defeat Freeze, Ivy, and Bane. It's kind of a weirdly worded synopsis. All right, Emerson, why don't you go first?
Sure. So this is a loss. It's funny because, as I said, I've heard this movie was horrible, and I definitely have watched it at some point, but I basically forgot almost everything except for a few cut and paste moments. I started taking notes of strange decisions and strange dialogue choices, and I realized I had filled up about 2 to 3 scrolling pages in the first 15 minutes. And then I gave up. Basically, everything they do is a little crazy. The writing, the acting, the story choices, the CGI, the set design, the pacing, the Batmobile, the gadgets, almost everything is just crazy. So it's just a loss. Like, at parts of it, it's so bad that it's literally laughable. Like, it's hilarious that someone saw this or wrote this or edited this and was like, yeah, that's a good choice. So it's a loss.
Okay, Everette?
Yeah, I'm going to give this movie a loss too. I should probably preface this by saying I saw this movie a lot when I was a kid. Like, this is one of the Batman movies I grew up with. And I haven't seen it since then. And I've seen the memes and the reviews that other people have made, and nothing can prepare you for actually watching this movie. Like, I said last week that the level of comedy we saw in the first Schumacher film worked because that's the vision of Batman that he was trying to convey to everybody. This just completely lowers the bar in every sense of the word. It has poor acting, unfunny jokes. It's just basically a pain to sit through at some parts. Set design and sound effects were extremely cartoonish. It's hard to even believe that this is connected with the original Batman. Like, it's insane.
Everett, can you do me a favor and turn yourself down a little? When you speak up, you're hitting red.
Yeah, I'll turn down. But anyway, yeah, no, I give this a loss. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about in the spoilers, so I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give it a draw. So Jade wanted to watch this with me, and I wanted to do a commentary episode, but she refused to come on the show. And she's like, I still want to watch it. You're not going to watch it with me, blah, blah, blah. You know, like the wife guilt trip. So we didn't do the commentary episode. Instead, I watched it with her. I just wanted to let you guys know that she was giving me notes the whole time on like her critiques on the film. And I was like, why don't you do your own stupid podcast? If, like, why are you doing this? And she wanted me to convey it to the listeners. But I give it a draw because as I was watching it, first of all, I actually was looking forward to watching it. And as it was playing, I was like kind of like I don't know. I was like allowing myself to be distracted by other things because I knew it was a shit movie. But at one point I was like, I know I actually kind of want to watch this. I don't want to do other things. So I just sat there and watched it, and yeah, it is stupid, but and you know, it's weird that it wasn't made to be stupid, but it somehow succeeds at being.
It feels like a snuff film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also really good at being a ridiculous, silly film, even though that's unintentional. I think. I don't know.
I mean, I agree. Like, as I said, there were parts of it where it was fun to watch in the sense of it was so stupid that, like, it was like, that's kind of hilarious. But, I don't know. I mean, we'll talk about more in spoilers. But I see what you're saying.
As we're talking, our sound isn't quite right. Everett, can you talk a little bit for a second?
Yeah, testing.
Okay,
Hello,
you're
hello.
good. Emerson, maybe you should turn yourself down because I'm hearing like a cracking. Do you have like something going on in the background?
Not really. How do I sound now?
You sound fine. There's just like, do you hear it, Everett?
Not really. Maybe I'll hear it a little bit as it goes on.
Never. You never hear like the things that happen. All right, whatever. All right, we'll move on. So do you guys want to talk spoilers? Do you want to go through the development of the movie on Wikipedia a little bit?
Let's do the development. I feel like that could be instructive.
With the box office success of Batman Forever in June 1995, Warner Brothers immediately commissioned a sequel. They hired director Joel Schumacher and writer Akiva Goldsman to reprise their duties and decided it was best to fast-track production for a June 1997 target release date, which is a break from the usual 3-year gap between films. It's funny because that 3-year gap has shortened with technology. It used to be like a 3-year gap between films, and then you'd have to wait a year for it to come out on video. Not anymore. Schumacher wanted to homage both the broad camp style of the 1960s television series and the work of Dick Sprang. See, I feel like they did that. Like, they successfully did that. It does feel like, forget the other movies, if you watched the 1966 show...
Yes,
and then,
this feels like a continuation of that.
I was like, guess what? They made a movie, and here it is. And then you're like, oh, okay. Like,
No,
they
it
changed the
definitely
costumes.
has that campy, like, funny, over-the-top feel.
Now, when you're like, I was a kid. I was like 1997. I was 7 years old. But I remember coming out of the movie being like, what, why did, what happened? Like, I didn't understand that it was a bad movie, but like, I remember them showing all those ass shots.
Yeah, that's in my notes. I was like, intro suit up is already interesting. Really pushing those ass and crotch shots.
Yeah, like I remember seeing that in the theater going like, that's a weird decision as 7 years old. And like, because, you know, I was such a big Batman fan, and my sister took me, I think, and I remember people were like expecting me to be like, I love it, just like I've loved the other ones. And I remember thinking like, I don't love that. It's weird.
Well, it's just strange because they do it. They do it to everybody. Like,
yeah.
They do it to Batman.
I guess
they do
that's
it to
fair.
Robin.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it is
The shots
fair.
kind of linger a little too long too.
Yeah,
so.
but it's like, evidently someone was like, "Yo, wouldn't it be funny if we put a butt shot in?" And it's like, not.
Well,
really.
he did it in Batman Forever, didn't he?
He didn't do a
But-
crotch shot. He did
No,
like
but
an
he did a
ass
butt
shot,
shot.
vaguely,
Yeah,
like
but
very
it was
quickly.
Like, it was slower. It lingers on his like.
No, yeah, they did it more, yeah. So, portions of Mr. Freeze's backstory were based on the Batman the Animated Series episode Heart of Ice, written by Paul Dini. That episode won an award. That show was started in 1992 based off of the Burton Batman film, the 1989 one, and then coincided with Batman Returns. So it was made in that like sort of tone. And so they took what Mr. Freeze is actually my favorite Batman villain. And so they took the Nora Heart of Ice storyline, the Nora Freeze, and they put it into this one. But then they added like this weird world domination thing, and
Yeah,
like
and they also like play him. They try to juggle the like tragic backstory with him being a comedian. Don't you guys agree that a vast majority of the dialogue in this film are one-liners from everyone involved?
Oh, Jade said this is
yeah.
the right movie to do a drinking game for puns.
Are you kidding me? If you did that, you'd be dead in the first 30 minutes.
Dude, at one point she's like, I can't take these puns anymore. If I hear one more fucking pun. And then right as she said that, Frieza's henchwoman was like, feels like a cold shoulder.
Yeah. I took it upon myself to write down as many ice puns as I could fucking get.
People always talk about the ice puns. I didn't remember there being so many plant puns.
Yeah, I didn't think that too.
I'd say at least 70% of the dialogue was just a form of pun. And you know what? They turned it up from the last movie. Remember how we discussed Alfred saying, please take a sandwich? And Val Kilmer's like, I'll get drive-through.
No, they did the same thing.
Yeah, now it's, I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
It's like the same beats.
Yes.
The jokes are paced exactly the same.
Yeah.
I said even Alfred was uncomfortable with the intro when he has the weird heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess I'll mark this as we're in spoilers now. I don't remember people hating Batman Forever that much. I know it gets lumped in with the others, and it's not a good film, as we kind of said last week. But you guys agree this is on a different level?
Yeah.
This is Batman Forever cranked up to 11.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that they stopped, because I read somewhere that there were plans for another movie after this.
Yeah, Batman Eternal or something.
Yeah, and they decided not to do it, and it makes sense because if they're going to continue with this cranking up, the next one would be, I don't even know where you could go from this. It makes sense that they stopped, put it on ice, and then
Batgirl.
Yeah.
So I was going to say one thing about it. What do you guys think about the fact that that Batman was kind of not a main character in this?
Well, we kind of discussed this in basically all the movies after the first one. After a certain point, it becomes difficult to just focus on Batman. Because, what a lot of directors and stories tend to do is have him, struggling with his childhood. And, how many times can you see that? So I guess I was okay with, them putting more time on Alfred and Robin and Batgirl. But the problem is that, what they did with them was laughable.
Yeah. Also, do you guys notice that, Clooney has the same expression the entire damn movie? It never changes. And it's really distracting.
I think he had potential to be the best Batman, but for whatever reason, aside from being in a bad Batman movie, his acting was really bad in this.
Yeah, it was very rubbery.
Yeah, and you ever notice, one of the things about Bruce Wayne is that when you see him as Bruce Wayne, he looks, distinguished and suave. He's in a suit, he looks professional. He was in, a bathrobe or, pajamas for the majority of this movie when he's not Batman. There's maybe 3 scenes where he's out in public and he's dressed professional, but the rest of it he's just lounging around at home, doesn't even give a shit.
I don't know. Anyway, a Goldsman, however, expressed concerns about the script during pre-production discussions with Schumacher. Chris O'Donnell reprises the role of Robin. Val Kilmer decided not to reprise the role of Batman from Batman Forever. Schumacher admitted he had difficulty working with Kilmer on Forever. He sort of quit, and we sort of fired him. Schumacher would later go on to say that Kilmer wanted to work on Island of Dr. Moreau because Marlon Brando was cast in the film. Kilmer said he was not aware of the fast-track production and was already committed to The Saint. Schumacher originally had a strong interest in casting William Baldwin. One of the Baldwin brothers? There's another one? How many of these people are there? He wanted to cast William Baldwin in Kilmer's place, but George Clooney was cast instead. Schumacher believed Clooney could provide a lighter interpretation of the character than Michael Keaton and Kilmer, and it allowed Clooney to work on ER simultaneously. Patrick Stewart was considered for the role of Mr. Freeze.
Really?
I can see that.
I'll say it. I like Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. He's funny, but when he first came out, all I could see is the Terminator with a little bit of ice. His suit is a very Terminator-esque,
I'll give them one thing.
build up.
With every other villain in this movie, so basically just Bane and Poison Ivy, they never have a moment of like peace. They're always like zany, gotta say something weird, gotta do something weird. At least they try to give Mr. Freeze a little bit of like, not like a little bit of character development. His look is okay for me, and like when he's sitting in his ice palace with his wife, I like those scenes. Like they seemed okay.
I'll say this: he's not like a serious villain, but of the villains in this movie, he's definitely the most fun to watch on screen. Bane was like, oh god, they really. Yeah, actually, Bane was kind of funny too. Bane was kind of funny too when he just like says his like one-word things. Like I don't remember which one it was, but at one point Mr. Freeze says something to him, and he's like, yes. I was laughing.
And he's like planting the bombs over and over. Bomb.
Can we take? Yeah, that was funny. Can we take a moment to talk about the new Batmobile?
It has no canopy on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it has no canopy on it. I was like, dude, he's going to be getting such bad wind factor. Like, he's blinded. And then multiple times in this movie, they're, like, bringing out all the gadgets. Like, you can really see, like, Batman's a gadget guy now. From the first movie where he was mostly just a dude to now it's like he's got all his stuff. Because they bring out, like, oh, God, and the ice scene in the finale when they have, like, the hydroplane, the bat cycle, the bat car, like, oh Jesus!
I kind of like the Batmobile.
Why?
It looks cool. Like I wouldn't actually pick that design, but I don't hate it.
I just thought it was hilarious that he had no canopy. Like it's just the logistics of that.
Yeah, but if it did, would you still hate it?
Probably not, honestly. But the thing is, like, it looks so different because of the lack of canopy. Like, it just is weird. Like, he's in this rocket-powered super speed thing, and he's, like, exposed to everything.
I have a picture of me as a child outside the movie theater with, I think, this Batmobile. It might have been Batman Forever. I don't remember.
And then, like, just the ice skating, like, the bat skates. In that first scene when they're in the museum.
Yeah, that's bad. That is really bad. That should not be in the script.
And they're like literally playing hockey with like the.
That was the other thing. Like, first of all the physics in that scene are really weird. Like the way people fall and fly.
Dude, the physics in the whole movie when they surf the air.
Cowabunga.
Dude, his plan. I want you imagine pitching this plan. It's like, okay, Mr. Freeze invades this place to steal diamonds. It's like, okay, cool. He escapes in a rocket. You're like, what?
Yeah, okay. Jade had some problems with this also.
He escapes in a rocket, which is designed to do something. Bruce Wayne says, like, oh no, we can't let the rocket escape. Bruce Wayne and Robin surf the blast wave and then, like, survive somehow. Oh, God. And
I don't even know how they stay on the thing.
Like...
How do they stay on it?
They can't.
They bat surf.
And then the CGI in those scenes was so bad. I know it's an old movie, but like that was not the right play to have a CGI heavy like action sequence.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring that up later. But yeah, he escapes in a rocket. But like, why is it better to just? Why can't you just pick up the diamond and throw it? Like, why do you have to play fucking hockey? It doesn't make any sense.
It's like ridiculous.
I mean, think about how much effort it was to film that. They didn't do a bad job necessarily if that was what you were trying to do. But why?
Yeah, I know. It's just, like, ridiculous.
When they started surfing, Jade is like, see, they equally represented the winter and summer sports.
I had a thing in my notes, like, at the very beginning of that sequence when they're in the museum, he freezes those guards. And then later on, like, way later when he freezes Robin's like, you have 11 minutes to thaw the bird. And I think to myself, so all those museum guards are definitely dead by now.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah. So Patrick Stewart was considered, and then they rewrote the script to accommodate Arnold Schwarzenegger because Schumacher felt like Freeze should be big and strong, like he was chiseled out of a glacier. When I did that graphic novel with the action figures, I made Freeze Ed Harris, and I made him of Eastern European descent. I think that's the right move. I like that idea for Mr. Freeze, that he's...
Ooh, Ed Harris works really well. I had to remember what he looked like.
Yeah, he was in The Rock. He was that general, and he was an Enemy at the Gates. behind. Yeah, enemy at the gates. Mm-hmm. He was the German sniper.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just take that character and make that guy Mr. Freeze. That's good. To prepare for the role, Schwarzenegger wore a bald cap after declining to shave his head and wore a blue LED in his mouth. Oh, I didn't realize that.
I did notice that. I was like, his mouth is cold. Like,
by the way, if Hot Toys ever makes a Mr. Freeze action figure, I will purchase it immediately. I don't care how much it costs.
They have a Mezco version, but that's not the same.
Get the fuck out of here with that shit. His prosthetic makeup took 6 hours. I actually thought his makeup looked good.
It did look good. I was surprised because I assumed those lights were hot. Like, all the stuff. And I was surprised he wasn't, like, sweating nonstop.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I think out of everyone in this movie, he probably gets the most, like, extreme close-up shots. And it holds up pretty well, like,
one
that
of these
close.
scenes in the intro when, like, Mr. Freeze is, like, freezing the guards, it cuts to Freeze's face and the guard's face, like, 6 times in 10 seconds. I don't know if you remember, but in the museum, he's like, freeze! And the guard's like, please no! And it's the guard's face. And then Mr. Freeze is like, I'm sorry, but my cold heart does not allow me to feel mercy. And then it, like, back to the guard, and then back to Freeze, and then back to the guard, and then Freeze.
I remember they did that with the diamond. Like, the diamond's, like, in its pedestal, and it, like, cuts back and forth between them, like, 4 times.
Yeah, Jade's like, this is very choppy. Like she wants me to write it down. I was like, okay, do your own podcast.
So many nice puns.
Jade actually loves puns, and I think that was why it hit her so hard. Like she couldn't. She's like, wow, why are they doing so many?
This might be what she's
Pun
like.
overload.
Thurman took the role of Poison Ivy because she liked the femme fatale characterization of the character. Alicia Silverstone was the only choice for the role of Batgirl. Did you guys like her?
No.
No, well, okay. She didn't have a lot of character development, to be quite honest with you. No one really did. They're juggling so many characters. If you think about it, there's 3 heroes and 3 villains in this that they're all trying to juggle, like most of which haven't really been established. I didn't hate her per se, but it was just weird. Like her arrival and the weird motorbike racing scene, and then she's Batwoman.
I didn't mind her. She got a lot of flack for being fat in this film.
She doesn't look.
Yeah, she didn't look fat.
I know.
The notes I have on her basically saying I felt like she was reading a teleprompter the whole time. She had no emotion talking about her parents' death, and she said she came from England and didn't have an accent.
Dude, that's so weird that they would call her fat.
Yeah, but think about all the other women that we've seen in this franchise so far.
I guess they were like stick skinny.
Nicole Kidman in the last film, she looked anorexic.
Yeah,
she
but they're
didn't
like
look healthy.
uncomfortably skinny. She looks normal. In
A
this
normal
movie.
girl,
She's just a person. Yeah.
Apparently, she got a lot of shit for that.
What the fuck? I guess. Damn. Imagine
surprising.
being in this movie and that's what you get attacked for. That would be horrible.
According to Schumacher, during the scene in which the costumes of the Riddler and Two-Face are seen, he originally planned to put Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze escaping from Arkham Asylum, while many other villains solved them from their cells. That scene, however, didn't make it in the film. Filming. When comparing work on Batman Forever, O'Donnell explained, it just felt like everything got a little soft the second time. On Batman Forever, I felt like I was making a movie. The second time, I felt like I was making a kid's toy commercial. He also complained of the Robin costume, saying it was more involved and uncomfortable than the one he wore in Batman Forever, with the glued-on mask, which caused sweat to pool on his face. John Glover, who played Dr. Jason Woodrow, Joel Schumacher would sit on a crane with a megaphone and yell before each take, "Remember everyone, this is a cartoon." It was hard to act because that kind of set the tone for the film. Production designer Barbara Ling admitted her influences for Gotham City design came from neon-ridden Tokyo and the Machine Age. Gotham is like a World's Fair on ecstasy. I'm okay with that. It should be pointed out that Joel Schumacher later on went on to apologize for making this film. And, I used to be like, yeah, you should, because he did this like 5 to 10 years ago. Now, having watched it, I feel like I don't think he should apologize. Like, yeah, you made a shitty Batman movie, but you weren't trying to. You were trying to make a toy commercial, and he succeeded. Are you guys there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
just
right.
listening.
I'm thinking about. It's interesting because do you remember when we watched Batman Returns and I talked about how I had heard it was bad and you said it's because people remember
Emerson,
the
your
later...
volume's dropping a lot.
Weird. I don't know why. Do you remember how in Batman Returns you talked about how basically the memory of these movies has become bad and they all get lumped together as being bad, crappy movies?
Yeah.
I feel like in hindsight, these two movies have become worse than what they are. Now, I gave both of these a loss, but I don't like regret watching them. I'm glad we watched them.
Right.
I feel like in hindsight, people are like, these are the worst thing ever, where it's like this bandwagoning, like, oh, they're horrible, they're horrible. And it's probably perpetuated by people who just want to see like the edgy, modern, like Batman, honestly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is very close to the 1966 Batman, which a lot of people still put on a pedestal. Like, to me, I can barely watch it. I watched it as a kid and didn't think much of it. Like, I enjoyed it. It was normal. But it was the other stuff that hit me. But this movie, I don't know. Like, I'm sure if you put it on for kids, they are fine with it. I don't think they care. Yeah, so, like, I don't know. I don't know if he deserves that much blame. Like, the studio obviously wanted him to make a merchandising film.
Yeah, and you know there's even that line by Poison Ivy where she's like, every Poison Ivy action figure comes with a Bane accessory. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's clever. You're putting the movie's reason for existing in the film.
Yeah. O'Donnell said that despite hanging out with Schwarzenegger a lot offset and during promotion for the film, they never worked a single day together. This was achieved with stand-ins when one actor was not available. Interesting. Yeah, you know, I had all the toys. I had Batgirl, I had Robin, I had Batman, I had actually many Batman. I had Poison Ivy, I had Bane, I had Mr. Freeze. They were good times.
Well, no, as I said, like, I am really glad we watched this. Like, I'm really glad, because it was a fun experience. It was entertaining.
Yeah. You know, one memory I have is it was my birthday, and my sister and her friend had bought me a gift. And it was like Freeze's ice headquarters or something. And they're like, do you like it? And I was like playing with it. And I was like, yeah, but I don't have any action figures. And they're like, they realized that I was just like playing with like the set, like the base. There was no character.
Oh my God.
And so they're like, oh, and then they left and came back. And they bought all those extra figures. Apparently, there was a song, "The End Is the Beginning Is the End" by the Smashing Pumpkins. I don't really remember it. It didn't have like an iconic song like the other ones did. Critical response. You guys can pretty much guess how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Approval rating of 11%.
Yep.
It's a frantic, mindless movie. Yeah, it is true. There was a lot of pressure from Warner Brothers to make Batman and Robin more family friendly. You know what's interesting is there's a lot more talk about sex. It's in puns.
Yeah. I was surprised at that because you can tell they're trying to do that thing that a lot of, you know, technically kids shows do where they try to add something that the parents will understand and the kid will go over the kid's head.
Schumacher said, "We decided to do a less depressing Batman movie and less torture and more heroic. I know I've been criticized a lot for this, but I didn't see the harm in that approach at all." I don't think so either, but like there was one at the end, the final confrontation with Ivy. She says something to Robin about like planting his seed or some shit like that.
It was pretty on the nose.
She said something to him like, "Oh, there are a lot of benefits to being young, like stamina and like physique or something." Like a whole bunch of comments like that. That was like basically her whole character.
Schumacher treats the Adam West version as gospel. That shows campy humor is completely incompatible with these production values. As Mr. Freeze would say, it's sure to leave audiences cold.
That's funny.
A lot of them won a bunch of Razzie Awards. Some observers thought Schumacher, a gay man, added possible homoerotic innuendo in the storyline. They questioned the random amount of rubber nipples and camera angle close-ups of the dynamic duo's butts and bat crotches. The addition of nipples. Yeah.
At one point, Poison Ivy even comments on it. She's like, she says something about the nipples.
Anatomically correct suit.
Yeah, she's like, I like an anatomically correct suit.
The addition of nipples and a codpiece to Batman's costume may be the film's lasting legacy. I had no idea that putting nipples on the Batsuit and Robin suit were going to spark international headlines. The bodies of the suits come from ancient Greek statues which display perfect bodies. They are anatomically correct. I see what he was going for. I think if I was there in the production room, I would look at like the nipples and the non-nipples, and I'd be like, just do the non-nipples.
for ease, yeah. You don't want any more controversy than you need.
But I guess if you're trying to like make your own stamp on it, because why is it okay that the suit has abs, but nipples is like you got to draw the line at nipples.
That's true. It's like we want to show that he's jacked, but we don't want to show that he has like
he's supposed to be like a living thing.
Yeah.
Like a beast, a monster, an actual man bat, but okay. I mean, it's not. It is true that this is probably the film's lasting legacy is the nipples.
That's what I've heard about. That and the plastic lips and the surfing a shockwave.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard anyone mention those last two things at all.
I've seen them in like random comments. The plastic lips were really big at one point.
I don't even care about those. Like he just rips them off. Like who cares? It's a little twist.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. It's weird that this movie was razzed so much for those things when there's greater structural. I think more people should have some issue with like, hey, this is just meant to sell toys, because that's something you hear a lot about today, where it's like, oh, this movie's just meant for merchandising, right? It's like Star Wars is a big issue with this, where it's like, we just want to pump out as many like sub properties as possible.
So, Chris O'Donnell said, where is it? It wasn't so much the nipples that bothered me, it was the codpiece. The press obviously played it up and made it a big deal, especially with Joel directing. I didn't think twice about the controversy, but going back and looking and seeing some of the pictures, it was very unusual. Clooney, who admitted to purposely taking a subtle gay approach to his portrayal. What? What the fuck? He did?
Jesus.
I mean, I did feel like the gay stuff, but it was because I thought, because Batman and Robin, it's a little like... And
he was
the
doing
movie's
it on
so
purpose?
sexual. The movie's kind of sexual. Like, George Clooney, he showed like almost no emotion.
It's him, Robin, and Alfred just, like, living in this house, and, like, there's, like, some sort of relationship here that's, like... No, there's some sexual tension, for sure.
But why would he do that? Why would he add in some gay stuff when...
Who knows?
But isn't Bruce Wayne, like, engaged to a woman, and the character have, like, a history of, like, female...
Yeah, I guess he's closeted.
Why would you insert that? Like, nothing against gay people, but why would you feel like you needed to do that? It doesn't make any sense.
The fact that
wait. Clooney, who admitted to purposely taking a subtle gay approach to his portrayal, later said, Joel Schumacher told me Batman was gay. What the fuck?
Oh my god. I've never heard that before. Jesus.
He said later, I think we might have killed the franchise and called the movie a waste of money.
Wait, so now is there anything of Joel, like, responding to those allegations?
I think there might be a documentary. I feel like I saw this somewhere. Like, maybe it's on YouTube.
I'm just saying, like, I'd like to hear if Joel agrees.
It
like,
is
yes,
on YouTube.
I said that. Or if he was like, no, I never said that. Like, if it's a he said situation.
There appears to be like a 30-minute documentary on YouTube.
Might be worth checking out.
About this. Interesting. Wow.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, Kia, remember how last week you mentioned Kevin Smith did that stand-up about the guy who's like the giant spider? I watched it. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
That made just total sense.
During the filming, Warner Brothers was impressed with the dailies, prompting them to immediately hire Joel Schumacher to return as the director of a fifth film. However, writer Akiva Goldsman turned down an offer to write the script. In 1996, they hired Mark Protosevich. blah, blah, blah. Continuing in the same vein with multiple villains and more silliness. Titled Batman Unchained. The script had the Scarecrow as the main villain. Through the use of his fear toxin, he resurrects the Joker as a hallucination in Batman's mind. It's kind of the plot of Arkham Knight. Harley Quinn appeared as a supporting character, written as the Joker's daughter. Clooney, O'Donnell, Silverstone, and Coolio were set to reprise the roles of Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and Scarecrow. Did you hear that?
That's the biggest ice pun in the movie.
Coolio was going to be Scarecrow. And you noticed he was in this movie, right?
He played that banker dude in the bike race, right?
He was like, yeah, he like ran the bike race.
That's the biggest ice pun in this movie.
Oh my god.
And he said that he signed on because he was promised to be the villain of the 5th film. He was going to be Scarecrow. That might have been really fucking cool, to be honest. I know the script would have sucked, but that's a very interesting take, like a guy like that.
Well, but how are you? Yeah, but how are you gonna? It's weird because the plot you've just described sounds serious. It doesn't sound like campy nonsense.
It doesn't sound campy. Yeah. It was also, well, so does Heart of Ice, but they butchered it. It was also hoped that Jack Nicholson would reprise the role of the Joker. However, following poor critical reception of Batman and Robin, Clooney vowed never to reprise his role. How crazy would that have been, though? Jack Nicholson shows up, and it's George Clooney instead.
And this probably would have released around like 99, 2000.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy.
Let's see. I don't think there's anything else here. There were worries with Warner Brothers surrounding the negative critical reception and how it could come to harm the success of the subsequent direct-to-video animated film Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. I think that was a good one. I think I watched that. Which was originally planned for release around the same time. However, Sub-Zero received a far stronger positive response. It was animated. It was like the show animated series. And it won 2 Emmy-winning episodes from... Okay, whatever. All right, yeah, so that's the development. Now let's go into some of the details of the film, because I also have some notes. So you know the Dr. Jason Woodrow? That was the dad from Shazam. And also, he was the dad in something else. Smallville.
Really?
He was Lex Luthor's dad.
Huh.
And he was the dad in Shazam. Remember, he dies?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, no. Does he die? I don't remember.
He
I
was,
think he dies.
I think
he
he's
was
attacked.
Savannah's dad, right?
Who's Savannah?
The guy with
Dr.
one
Savannah,
eye.
yeah.
Savannah, yeah. It's not Savannah. Savannah.
No, that's funny though.
You know, I'm looking at Robin's suit like there's a Google image. I don't hate it, even with the nipples.
I thought he kind of looked more like Nightwing in this movie.
You thought that? He obviously looks like Nightwing.
Yeah, I know. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I like Mr. Freeze. Okay. Let's talk about Batgirl for a second.
Oh god, okay.
Because I would say that historically, this franchise has treated women reasonably well. Mm-hmm. Like, Vicky Vale is not just like a damsel in distress. Like, she had some like agency a little bit. And look what they did for women with Michelle Pfeiffer. Like, that's an iconic female role. And then what? I mean, Nicole Kidman, she didn't suck. Like she wasn't literally damsel in distress. She was like educated, whatever. And then Batgirl, I feel like even though the movie's silly and stupid, I feel like Batgirl did at least like they made her feel equal.
Yeah, she does feel equal, and it's interesting when she chooses her name, that joke feels very modern. Like that's very strange when he's like
when he says Batwoman or
yeah,
whatever.
He's like not Bat person, Batwoman. That's not very PC being Batgirl.
How about right before that she goes, "It's me, Barbara." Like they couldn't tell who the fuck it was.
Yeah, it's like, bro, you're just wearing like 5 inches of fabric on your eyes. Like, calm down.
And you're right. They did make her like sort of stand on her own, but didn't really help when later on in the movie she's like, "Who I defeated Poison Ivy all by myself. Did you guys see that? I did it all by myself." Like they had to point it out.
Yeah, I just accidentally deleted all my notes.
Oh god.
Okay, I got it back.
Okay. Everett's talking. That's funny. I mean, no, they weren't unfair to her like some movies. Like, I'm just gonna bring it back to James Bond. She's a character. She's not just there to have sex with the main character and get rescued / killed.
So I just want to say, like, having said what I'm about to say is gonna like rip the character apart, but I thought that overall they did a pretty good job of at least making her like her own person and whatever.
Okay, now bring in the bombshell.
It's not a bombshell, but there's a lot of weird things. Like, okay, so Alfred has been working with Batman since he's been Batman, but also like for most of his life, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least his whole life, probably. But you have to assume that he hasn't seen much of her since Bruce has become Batman. And, you know, she's not that old. So you're looking like, when was the last time she saw him realistically? She was probably like 10.
Okay.
Unless it was like for like a very short holiday because Alfred can't leave. So she comes in. First of all, she comes straight from Europe in her school outfit. Like she literally left school and came right there. So she shows up, whatever. Then at night she shows up to tuck in Alfred. She actually says, "I'm here to tuck you in." Like, you haven't seen this person very often. Who tucks in their grandpa?
Definitely some weird vibes.
Yeah, wait. I don't think, was it grandpa? I thought it was uncle, which made it a little weirder.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, who the fuck
Which
does
is
that?
even stranger. I'd like to
Dude, who does that? She just shows up. Like, she just shows up in his room at night. Like, "I'm here to tuck you in." Like, what? You're making a lot of assumptions here. Did he ask you, like, off screen, hey, make sure you come around 9 o'clock? It's like,
that's even worse. That's even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was really weird. Also, with her outfit, Jade brought up a good point. If the batsuits have nipples, how come they didn't, like, give her areolas?
Yep.
They kind of did. Like, the breasts were a little pointed.
They gave her, like, the points.
Yeah,
but they didn't give her like the anatomically correct. You know what? Maybe George Clooney was told to play Batman a certain way. But oh man, yeah, that's a good. Also, like, I'd like to point out what her character evolution is. She's like, I don't understand much about bikes. I'm scared of them. I'm now racing. Like, I understand that that's supposed to be a lie, but the whole racing sequence was just weird. Like, I guess it was supposed to... Usually there's a sequence like that, right? Which establishes that she has abilities and skills. But it really... I don't know, man. It was just a very strange sequence. And, like, there's people randomly running around with, like, spark throwers. If you, like, watch the extras as they're racing through, there's a guy in the background of one of the scenes who's got the spark thrower, and he, like, I don't know what he does, but he's, like, starts flinging sparks on his face, and he, like, throws it down in the background. It's so funny.
You know, I felt like she brought some freshness to the movie in a formula that was a little tired, like Batman and Robin. It's kind of enough. Even Batman, like I said, I don't mind that he was kind of pushed to the background. It was almost too much of him at this point. Like, we've seen it. You're angsty, you're broody, even though George Clooney didn't even do that. But you're rich, you got all these gadgets, you float around with your cape, and like, we've seen that a million times. But Batgirl adds a new dynamic to it, which I don't mind. There's that scene where he's confronted by Poison Ivy at, like, the conference. Mm-hmm. And Bruce Wayne announces that people come before the Earth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that...
I mean, it's interesting logic at best.
Yeah, at best.
Like, I don't even want to make it like a political thing. It's to sit there and be like, she's like, "We're destroying the Earth." And he's like, "Actually, people come before the Earth." Like, what are you talking about? If like, let's just say that what she's saying is true, which in the movie it does seem like it's true. Like, don't you like global warming? Like, you know, he's a smart person. Like, he could figure these things out. He's literally like, "No, we're gonna keep doing business because that's what matters most." I don't even hate it because he is part of that like rich, wealthy class. I guess it makes sense.
Bruce Wayne denies global warming.
But it's interesting. Well, it didn't age well.
You can see it as a sign of the times. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a different era. His whole counter argument, like,
So, when you get to that auction, they're auctioning off women with a diamond. Is that what's happening?
Yes. They're like 10,000 on Magnolia, 20,000 for the orchid.
Not to nitpick, but that gem was red, so technically shouldn't it be a ruby?
You know more about jewelry than me, man. Yeah, you know what? I didn't hate Poison Ivy's entire like thing in that scene. Her monkey dance. I thought that it actually worked really well, even in the context of the movie. But even despite that, like her being like seductive and whatever, I thought that was actually a pretty well done sequence for her.
I don't know. Like, you're at a party where it's like everyone's kind of acting weird. Everyone's dressed up, like an ape monkey costume's like dancing around in the back, and everyone in the room turns around and starts looking at it before she even starts taking off her costume. Like, that's a little weird.
That they turned around and looked at her too early.
I don't know. That didn't make much sense to me.
I thought when the scene first began, I was like, "Oh, Bane's the one," and I was like, "What the fuck? Bane's dancing?" I was like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Poison Ivy." It was really funny though for a second. Oh God.
What about the Bat card?
That's notorious.
Dude,
at this point.
that was stupid. I never leave home without it. Like, okay, we understand. Okay, it's stupid, but at the same time, it's hilarious. You know what I mean? Like just the fact that they would do that is like, oh my God.
So should that be in the movie or not?
Okay, if I was trying to make this movie and make it good, it would not be in the movie. However, I think it should be in the movie as it is now because it's funny. It's not funny like, wow, like we're meant to laugh at. Well, I guess we are meant to laugh at it. It doesn't fit the tone. I guess it does fit the tone, actually.
You know what? That's the type of humor those, like, let's call them boomers. Like, the pre-boomers. Like, the people that grew up watching Batman 66 and were sitting in the theaters in 98 or whatever. Those people think those jokes are funny. Which is nothing against those people, but, you know, it's clearly made for a certain audience. Like, young kids and, like, old people. Like, that's who they made it for, which is so bizarre. Did you guys feel like they were dubbing a lot of the voices?
Yes, especially with Schwarzenegger, which makes sense, you know. But, yeah, there were definitely a lot of dubs. A lot of them.
Now, I don't remember why I wrote this, but was there a child at the race scene? Because I wrote race scene kid. And I vaguely remember there being like some type of child that was somehow in danger for no reason.
Yes, there was definitely a little girl at one point.
Like she was in the gang or something?
Yes. It was a kid. It was not a girl. It was a kid with spiked up hair, and he's very noticeably a kid. And he's like, "Go get him, Ragdoll," or whatever the hell the dumb racer's name is. He's like, "We'll be waiting at the bridge for you." And it was like, why is he here?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I remember.
And it wasn't even like they're trying to hide it. He's like front and center, like yelling and stuff. It was very strange.
Now, there was at one point when Ivy like goes to Arkham Asylum. I wrote sexist Ivy. I don't remember why, but she must have said something that was sexist. Do you guys remember?
Not really.
I can't remember. Anyway, how about this? They can't escape Arkham Asylum because the brick walls are also made of reinforced steel.
Yeah, but then once he freezes it, like there's no steel. It's just brick.
And so you're telling me that they, like, so is the movie trying to say that they made a room of reinforced steel and then put brick over it for aesthetic reasons?
That is what they're trying to say. It goes brick, steel, brick. That's what they're like attempting to.
Wasn't it that he couldn't escape without his suit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did they bring it to him?
Yes, they
brought
did.
it to him,
Bane.
yeah.
Remember, Bane is like. There's like this whole sequence that's going on while Freeze is talking to Ivy, where Bane's like, "Rah!" and he's just running through the prison with the cart filled with Freeze's gear.
And they have that little tie-in with the Riddler outfit and the Two-Face outfit.
Yeah, and then Schwarzenegger, when he arrives, he's like, I love a home delivery service.
Oh yeah, okay.
A laundry service that delivers.
Yeah, that's it.
So this password thing, she guesses the password to the Batcave. It's a 3-letter password.
Yep.
It's also written right next to it.
Yep. And did you see the other passwords she tried?
England.
Like, yeah.
England was one of them.
Alfred.
England. She should have entered butler. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that might be a password.
But don't you think it's weird that the movie tries to make it seem like that the password was coded so that she was like Margaret, and then she looks at Peg and she's like Margaret, Peg, and then she types it in, but she didn't actually figure anything out because the password is written right there. It says Peg. Like she went to Margaret on her own, but Peg right next to the screen. Peg.
Yep.
You just type it in. It's not a mystery.
I don't know. That whole like subplot with like Alfred and like that woman, that's supposed to be his sister, right? Because
I don't even know. Yeah.
Because at one point, Barbara says like, "I have the same picture of Mom like on my desk somewhere." So I'm thinking to myself, okay, Uncle Alfred, Mom, that must be his sister. I think he definitely thought that was supposed to be his wife.
Yeah.
Because the way he acts does not seem like it was a sister relationship.
I also thought it was his wife. Like, he's very obsessed. And then there was like that weird subplot with him trying to contact his brother, right?
Yeah, Wilfred.
Yeah. And like he's trying really hard and like he doesn't know where he is, and I was like, is Wilfred gonna like swoop in and save the day? Like, what's gonna happen? Nothing.
Yeah.
He was like a butler to a sultan or something. Like being a butler runs in the family.
So his disease, McGregor syndrome. What is that disease? Because it's like he's in stage 1. And
I don't know. I thought it was meant to be Parkinson's. But then, like, his symptoms are, like, heart attack.
No, he didn't. He just had to lay down. Like, he just went to bed.
Which is also, like, you're just old. So...
I don't understand what his disease is that's in stage 1, but he has to be, like, bedridden immediately.
It sounds like Parkinson's, but it doesn't look like it.
Out of curiosity, if you remember, what's the disease that Nora Freeze had?
McGregor syndrome.
In the comics, not, like, in this. Because I know they had the same disease in this.
I don't even know if it was like ever
she had
explicitly
something
stated. Was it?
Let's see. Character biography, blah blah blah.
Nora Freeze disease.
From
a fictional illness called McGregor syndrome.
So it is McGregor syndrome.
Wait, no. Wait. I can't tell if this is from the movie or it's like what she is. No, this is the film.
I can't find where.
She's diagnosed with a terminal illness.
Nora.
It looks like she just has like something.
I guess it's just like a nameless disease.
Yeah. It doesn't really say. I will say this. What about that? Remember that security cam footage of? It looks like something out of. It looks like something out of Batman vs Superman. By the way, like when you see like their origin stories or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, why does it like close up on him in the water, where he's like, so is like the camera guy like zooming in on him?
He's like, oh, what happened to him? Yeah, it's. So
I actually wrote down the sexual pun that Ivy says to Robin. She says stuff like he says something like, is your thumb the only thing that's green?
Oh yeah.
And then she says, I'm slippery when wet or something like
that. Yes, she does. And it's like, what? Like, it doesn't even really make sense in context of their conversation. It's just an innuendo. Oh, by the way, apparently, after emerging from the Lazarus pit, Nora Freeze becomes Lazara, a supervillainess who can summon fire and raise the dead.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
But that's not stupid because the comics did it. So. Okay. So Jade brought up an interesting point, which I think Everett I want to kind of attack you for this.
Okay.
So Jay's like, I thought she was going to do more plant stuff. And I told her, I was like, first of all, that's going to take a lot of CGI. It was 1998. Also, what are you going to do besides like the plants coming out of the ground? Maybe they grab Batman one time and he breaks free. That's pretty much it. Like that's pretty much what you got with Poison Ivy, aside from like the poison lips thing and the mind control for some reason. So, Everett, you're the one saying you want to see Poison Ivy in with Harley Quinn or some shit.
Well, my logic there was, first of all, let me just say, you're completely right. It's going to cost an ass ton if they want to do, like, Arkham-style plant stuff. Like, it's going to cost a lot of money.
But even in Arkham, it was stupid. It only worked because it was a boss fight.
Honestly, like, my logic with it was, taking that aside, you could cast an actress that has good chemistry, so at the very least, you could have some cool, like, quippy dialogues, or you could have, like, good character development.
What?
You don't even know.
Cool, quippy lines and character development?
I mean, what? Like, what's wrong with that?
What character development are you gonna have?
I don't know. They kind of did it in this. Like, what's the real origin story of Poison Ivy?
I don't know. Like, I think she's a gimmicky villain. That's the problem. Her powers are bizarre. So, like, what could you do? Like, what could you do with this character?
I don't know. They kind of did a good thing in the Harley Quinn cartoon that's out right now, where she doesn't really use plants that much. She uses plants.
So what does she do?
She's more like a combatant. Like, she uses guns and stuff, and it's sort of like a merc, I think. So you can do that, and like don't have the plant thing on the side. Because you're right.
Why do you even need her then?
It is really gimmicky. To fit. Honestly, I don't even know. I'm just talking
So
about my ass.
just to be clear, so what we're doing right now is we're debating a Gotham City Sirens movie, right?
Yeah.
Here's my thing. Like, I don't know much about Gotham City Sirens. Is Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and
Catwoman, I think.
Catwoman. Okay. So I'm not like big up to date on any of the three of them, but all three are kind of annoying in like a lot of the media about them. So like,
Catwoman's the best.
Well, yeah, but what would their arc be?
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
What would they do?
Everett said quippy dialogue and character arcs.
That's their arc.
Okay, you're completely right. I think I'm just saying it.
Oh, you know what we could have, Everett? We could have the three of them beat the shit out of Batman, and it could be like a woman's power moment, and then they could all go and like talk to each other and eat an egg sandwich. Dude, Everett, you should go to Hollywood.
No, what they should do is like have Batman fight them, and then once they defeat Batman, we could have like a new franchise where like one of them is Batman, but no one cares. No one goes to see it, so it doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
You guys are completely right. Like I think I'm just saying this out of like, honestly, I don't even know why. Just something new, I guess. Something that people really.
I don't think it would be new though, because from what I understand, that's been done a lot. Like, there's that animated Harley Quinn show, which I think does exactly that, and I've seen a bunch of clips of it on YouTube, and it does not look very.
It's never been good.
Yeah.
But I mean, they'll do it anyway. Harley Quinn has never been good. She was always the like heel for the Joker. Like, he kicks her around. That's it. That's as good as it gets. And they tried a bunch of other crap and never worked. By the way, you know what the problem is with all these like women-centered stuff? Is that women don't support the women-centered comic book stuff. Which is kind of a funny thing, because like you're trying to say like it should be equality or whatever, but these are definitely geared towards men. And although women do enjoy it, it's not like, if you make a comic book movie that like the audience was for men typically, and then you make a comic book movie that's specifically like for women, the men are, even if they forget the ones that'll like protest against it, but let's just say like someone like me who goes in with an open mind and I'm like, yeah, like clearly it wasn't for me, but you know, it was okay. But then you still have a whole bunch of women that don't care anyway. Like, they wouldn't even go see it. Like, there are some that would, but many still wouldn't. And that's one of the reasons why it doesn't do like the same numbers. If you look at the Marvel movies, those are getting by because of Marvel. Like the fact that it's MCU. It's not because women are lining up to go see the film.
Yeah.
I know that some people saw Wonder Woman, but it wasn't like women everywhere were like, we got to go support like you see this with female sports too. Everyone wants equal female pay and whatnot, which is a great thing. But who's going to the WNBA games?
I went to one once.
How was that?
Well, I didn't go there of my own accord. I was sent there when I was working at a camp like 3 years ago. Right. And the score, like we left at it was the Sparks versus the Skies, the like Washington Skies or something. And it was, it was empty, and the only people who were there were camps. And when we left, the LA Sparks were up like 80-30, and then we left halfway through the game, and on the bus ride back, the Skies had beaten the Sparks by like 40 points.
What the fuck?
And I was like, what the hell happened? But it was, I would not go back.
So it's like, yeah, women equality, whatever, but who's going to those games? Because women will say they want women sport athletes to have like whatever, but they won't actually go. That's the problem. The same with these films is like, yeah, we want women to be represented in these male centered franchises. Okay, so we'll give you a female centered movie, but like
well,
they're
part
like, well,
of the
yeah.
problem too is like the best way to do this, and you talk about this a lot, Kia, is you need to have someone who has an idea. And, like, if it's a good idea, go for it, right? So if you say, like,
Right.
I have an idea for a film with a female heroine, and this is the idea I want to make, and I have this idea, and it's a good one, go for it. There you go, strong. But if you come to someone and say, the first thing you have on the drawing board is, we want a movie with a female lead.
Right.
And nothing else, and then you try to build it around that, it's almost never going to be good.
That's what this idea is, yeah.
You're just taking, like, this one concept that's very vague and very small, and trying to build from there.
Right. And I'm not trying to say that a movie like this can't happen, but I'm actually trying to figure out how it could happen. And I don't see how they're literally just putting Poison Ivy in there because they want to do more Harley Quinn stuff because, like you said, it's like token feminism, whatever. I don't know. And they're like, okay, who else could we put in there? Catwoman, Poison Ivy. And they already tried with this Harley Quinn movie. They put a bunch of smaller characters because they wouldn't have to commit to the characters if the movie didn't do well. Like, if you put Catwoman in Birds of Prey and the movie doesn't do well, it's like now you just butchered Catwoman for, like, Batman, essentially. So they don't want to do that. That's why you have, like, Huntress in there. And, like, other,
Black
like,
Canary.
random... Yeah. Like, things no one cares about. Not really. Like, some comic fans, but in general, no.
Yeah.
So...
Well, the thing is, like, when you were talking about Wonder Woman, that's because the director, like, had an idea, there was a story made, and, like, Wonder Woman, I guarantee you the idea was not, let's make a movie with a female character. I guarantee you that it was Patty Jenkins who did that, right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you she's like, I have a story, I have an idea, I have a plot centered around Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And it was a good movie. I like Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I don't even care that it's a woman lead. Like,
No,
I'm
in fact,
there for the character.
she's like one of my favorite parts of like Batman versus Superman and even Justice League. Like I like the character, the way she's been built. But it's just like, don't give me Harley Quinn, and don't even try to say that like Harley Quinn or any of the characters from Gotham City Sirens or whatever the hell that movie they tried to make was. Don't even tell me any of those characters are even close to Wonder Woman, because they're not.
Right.
Like at all, because there's no substance, there's nothing of value.
Here's what they're going to do for a Poison Ivy. They're going to get someone who's extremely attractive, which is fine. And then they're going to have her, like, take advantage of men, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be handled well. It's going to be kind of cringy and, like...
Some bad CGI with the plants.
Yeah, and then, like, there's going to be, like, some message, and then criticism will be divided into people being like, oh, you just don't like it because it's a strong female character. And it's like, but she's not a strong female character. There's, like, nothing of substance here. It's just, like... It's backfiring against the idea of the movie, because when you just put a random woman in there and say like, oh, she's a strong female character, and it's not a good movie, it's like, no.
I almost think like the most interesting way to do Poison Ivy is if she actually was poison, like a little bit fantastical. If she actually was poison and was trying to kill people, and somehow like she had infiltrated like Batman's inner circle, I guess Bruce Wayne's inner circle.
She should be like almost a serial killer.
Yeah,
like,
and she can't be the main villain. She can't even like...
No.
So it would be like a side thing. I actually think Freeze and Poison Ivy are a good pair. Like not just in this movie, but in general, because it wouldn't. He's like in love with his wife, and she, like in this movie, she's unable to affect him, and like that kind of works.
Yeah. Well, because it creates a different dynamic than every other like man she works with.
Right. So why do her plants eat her?
That's
Well, they
another
don't.
thing
They
that's-
don't eat her. She lives at the end.
Yeah, but like they turn on her.
Yeah, doesn't she control them?
Clearly
That
not
one
enough.
plant is just like gobble gobble.
She yells
didn't
curses.
it didn't like the innuendos. She was like, "I'm slippery when wet," and the plant's like, "All right, that's it."
and then afterwards, when Batgirl's like introducing herself and the big reveal that it's actually Barbara under there, in the background, like she's still there, like throwing her legs around inside the plant.
Yeah.
What do you think about their ice suits? I'm like split on them. I kind of like them, kind of not.
I don't know, man. It was just strange.
Alright.
One of the things I wanted to say about this movie is like I was gonna say it's kind of weird that they juggle 3 villains, but now that I think about it, almost every superhero movie has like multiple villains, like especially Batman. I'm trying to think, what's the
Well,
last
Batman Returns started that.
Yeah, I know, but like
Actually, that's not true. Superman 2 had
But-
Zod and Luthor.
I'm trying to think, what was the last Batman movie where there was only one villain?
Well, so define villain, because I wouldn't consider Bane a villain in this one.
Well, okay, so then like even if we put it down to 2 villains where it's like Poison
Well,
Ivy and Freeze.
so if you look at Batman Begins, there's Carmine Falcone. There's also Victor Zsasz.
Yeah, but like I don't count those as much, but who I do count is I count Scarecrow and I count Ra's al Ghul.
Right.
Well, then technically, wouldn't the Dark Knight Rises have only one real villain? Bane was the one real villain.
No,
Talia
Talia.
doesn't count.
Talia.
Talia doesn't count. She's like at the very
She
end.
is the real villain. Though.
She counts, yeah.
She turns on him. Like the big climax in the movie is Talia.
But when
like,
was the last
reveal.
time you saw a superhero movie with one villain?
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to remember one. That's what I'm trying to think about. Marvel does it, but Marvel does it because their like
'Cause
template is
yeah.
hero versus bad version of themselves.
But sometimes what Marvel does is instead of like putting a villain, they'll do like a little cameo villain.
Yeah.
Like Winter Soldier has Batroc the Leaper, played by George St. Pierre.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that's a villain from the comics, but they use him as like a, intro.
Yeah. But like I don't know, that's the thing. Like in DC specifically, it seems like there's almost always two villains. Like even in Wonder Woman, right? You've got
Well, 2 works
What's
because
his
if you
name?
have just one, then
And
he just goes and gets that guy.
yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like Thor has Loki. He also has the Destroyer.
And there's the
Giant.
ice giants. But
Yes.
I don't know if I'd count the ice giants are hard to quantify.
Iron Man. He has. Well, there's the 10 Rings.
And Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
But
mean,
Obadiah
count
seems like
10
the main
Rings.
guy.
How about Spider-Man 1? It's just the Green Goblin, right?
I think so, yeah.
Captain
And
America only has one real villain, right? Just the Red Skull.
Kind of, but he's fighting a war.
Yeah, so but like Captain America 2, right? He's got Winter Soldier and what's his name?
Yeah, and also Batroc. Like I count Batroc.
Okay, yeah, so there's 3 and then Civil War everyone's fighting everyone. I guess there's one main villain. But like
Well,
that's a different
there's
type
also
of
General
story.
Ross. General Ross counts too.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's difficult.
What about Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2 has Goblin and Doc Ock. Not Goblin, he has Doc Ock.
It's just Doc Ock, I
Yeah.
think, though, right?
And how about
Yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man? Isn't it just the lizard?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
dude,
so.
I haven't seen that in so long. I know the second one has like 5.
The
bad
second
guys.
one has like 4 villains
What
in
about
It's
Far
got-
From Home? It's got
Far From-
Mysterio. Anyone else? I want to rewatch that.
Yeah, I'm excited because I need to see it again. But
I-
yeah, I
I
guess you're
mean,
right. It is really just Mysterio.
Homecoming was really only the Vulture, because the Shocker was like a side guy.
Yeah.
Right?
No, Shocker. That's a named villain.
Yeah, and like he has to like go out of his way to deal with these people because the Vulture has a team. But yeah, Far From Home, it's really well. Mysterio has a team too, but Mysterio is the only named one.
Yeah, he has a team, but yeah, no, Mysterio is the villain. And so
Yeah.
I guess it kind of works if you can sort of disguise the villain.
Yeah.
But if the villain just shows up from the beginning, it's like, well,
Then
why
you
doesn't
need
the hero?
multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you notice, like, the trend was also kind of the origin ones. Where,
Yeah.
like, yeah, so. Okay, well, what else? Oh, yeah, so when I saw the vehicles at the end of the third act, they look like over-designed pieces of shit. Like, they look terrible.
100%. That's what I'm saying. Like, but you can really see how this movie really expands on the Batman as a tech superhero thing, because it's just gadget after gadget.
It doesn't even look like tech. It looks like merchandise.
Well, that's what it is, really. Because if you give Batman gadgets, you can sell more Batmans. If someone just buys a Batman figurine and Batman just fights people, that's what you buy. But buy Batman plus the ice trawler, buy Batman with the specialized Batwing, buy Batman with the blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Then the last thing was that I wrote when they're falling and they shoot the grappling hook and it like wraps around the ice pick at like a completely bizarre angle.
Yep.
Like, how does that even hold? And then it does break apart, but it breaks apart in a way that still doesn't make sense. Like, how could they hold on an ice pick horizontally? Do you guys have anything else?
I mean, that's most of what I was going to talk about. I mean, I just found that whole like climax just very strange. Like, oh, we're going to use the sunlight to melt it, and like the satellites, and there was like the weirdly like. It's like, yes, we get it. The satellites are owned by the U.S. Army. You don't have to keep showing us that. Like, I don't know. It felt strange that the last like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I only had two things left on my list. The ununited nations, like that just row of evil-looking people. One of them looked like Fidel Castro.
You know, one of those was an American general.
Yeah, like wasn't it the one? Not an American general. Wasn't the senator who really likes Batman in this?
What do you
I
mean?
thought someone mentioned that last week. Remember, didn't you mention there's like a U.S. senator that really loves Batman?
Well, but just briefly back to the ununited nations. Like, at first I was like, oh, it's all the rogue countries. I see the Russian guy, the Chinese guy, the North Korean guy, the like Saudi guy. But there was also an American general standing to the far left. So I guess like the idea was like anyone interested in weapons.
I didn't notice that, but that's interesting. And
yeah, I didn't
and the
either.
only other thing was
That's why I looked at it.
that is they had another joke in that scene after where he's like, "Yes, sir, thank you, your evilness. We'll have you your super soldier overnight mail." I thought that was kind of funny.
I didn't understand. Like they made a big deal out of there being like a buyer by phone, like the unknown buyer. And like they really hyped it up. I was assuming that was going to be Mr. Freeze or something, but like they just kind of ignored it. I don't know. Like that was very strange. They
had to kill him off. It was just like a throwaway line.
But like, don't you agree, both of you, that they put a lot of time into like specifying that there was an unknown buyer on the phone, and that he was like they put time. There was dialogue explaining it.
Yeah,
there were shots.
They said it when he was on the phone, and then beforehand he's like, "We have a mystery buyer." Like they set that up, and then it went nowhere.
Yeah, it's strange. It makes me wonder if that was supposed to be something, and they were just like, nah, and cut it out.
Yeah.
I found an interesting article, like 20 years reflection on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say before we get into that, Bruce Wayne's fiance, that was like just a thread left out there. You don't even see her. Like she disappears halfway through. They were gonna get married.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
he's a closet homosexual.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through some of this. Some of the tidbits. Let's talk about this. Okay, Joel Schumacher says Kilmer opted not to return. Batman Forever, when we were on the world tour, it just really went to his head. I'm not going to get into that. He wanted to do Island of Dr. Moreau because Marlon Brando was going to be into it, so he dropped us at the 11th hour. I went to the valley where George lived with his pig and his great friends, and we said, let's do it. What the fuck? He said about Patrick Stewart, he says, it's a wonderful idea, but no one ever suggested him. I had met with Arnold several times because he was always interested in working together. They said that at one point, one of the artists said that there was clearly dialogue meant to be delivered in like a Shakespearean way, and was definitely not for Schwarzenegger, and they had to rewrite everything. Schwarzenegger received top billing and a hefty $25 million payday. That guy Peter McGregor, the giant spider guy, he said the cast ate the money up. It's tough when you wake up in the morning and just spent $25 million. I will say one memory that I have from this movie that I will always cherish is my sister one day brought home, like her friend worked at a movie theater, she brought home the poster for this film. Which if you remember, like back then, well I guess you wouldn't remember, but you couldn't just go online and like look at stuff. The posters that you saw and the like McDonald's tie-in promotional cups, like shit like that, that's all you had to hype the movie. So like I stared at this poster. It was the one with like their four heads, which I still think is actually a pretty great poster. It's got like Batman at the top. It's got Uma Thurman, Mr. Freeze, and Robin, I believe, at the bottom. And I don't know. I stared at that for months because it comes out so much far in advance. Something about this that I still enjoy. Clooney wasn't commanding the salary one would need to land him today. The McGregor guy says he was a bargain. Julia Roberts was rumored for Poison Ivy. Julia and I did 2 movies together back to back. We're friends. She would have picked up the phone and called me, says Schumacher. But he decided to cast Thurman after seeing a Vanity Fair photo shoot of Annie Leibovitz while he was flying back from Mississippi after shooting the John Grisham adaptation, A Time to Kill. I don't know. Weightlifter Jeep Swenson was enlisted as Bane after one of the stuntmen suggested him. I think he had the biggest biceps on record at the time. He's a sweet guy with a young family. He was a dream to work with, and I think we were all... he died shortly after the film opened.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Jeez. Yeah. Paparazzi photos of Schwarzenegger in costume were going for $10,000. That's crazy. I had security people all over the stage clearing people who had cameras with them. They were getting $10,000 for a picture of Arnold, and we had a fabric tent around him when he would walk from his trailer to the stage. There were audition tapes of men trying to be Antonio Diego, which is Bane before he became big. I just threw myself against the wall and screamed the top of my lungs, recalls Michael Reed, who won the part. Celebrities came in and out. John Bon Jovi came by because he liked Arnold Schwarzenegger. Jesse Ventura came by. Clooney was the lead, but he didn't quite have the star wattage of Schwarzenegger on set. He definitely has a great game of basketball because they would always be playing pickup basketball games between Freeze and Clooney, I guess.
Okay.
Clooney, wait, who's Sabatino? Oh, Sabatino is Frosty, who was a Mr. Freeze thug. He says he once walked out onto the Warner Brothers lot during his lunch break to hit the gym for a light workout, only to notice the woman working out next to him was Cindy Crawford. At the time, she was single, and I was like, I'd really like to talk to you, but I look like an idiot. She laughed and was really nice. I was like, when you get to meet Cindy Crawford and you're looking like a monster, not that great a thing. Schwarzenegger was filming the Sinbad comedy Jingle All the Way. Isn't that a good movie? Jingle All the Way?
I've never seen it.
It's a Christmas movie. Blah, blah, blah. This is back in the days when you can kind of look at the can and there's no major skull and crossbones on it. Oh, they used Christmas tree flocking on his face. So you think this is okay to spray on someone's face. Nowadays, it's a whole different ball game when it comes to safety and safety data sheets and all that. But back then, you smell it and go, it's extremely flammable, and there's some smoke and skull bones down there. But I think we'll be okay.
They sprayed a massively flammable liquid on the guy's face.
Yeah. Yeah. And then at one point, the battery and the light in his mouth, the battery leaked.
Oh my God.
let's see. When you put it in Arnold's mouth, Arnold's saliva would creep into the seams of this thing and attack the batteries. The batteries would immediately start disintegrating and start putting out battery acid into Arnold's mouth.
Oh my god.
Arnold was shouting, "It tastes like shit. What's in my mouth?" Arnold is sitting there in this incredibly uncomfortable suit, and it's costing us $5,000 a minute to wait. So the light only lasted about 20 minutes before the batteries died, prompting frequent stops during a production already pressed for Schwarzenegger's time. Why fuck the light then? Who cares? His son didn't recognize him with the costume on. Alicia Silverstone criticized. She looked more like... Oh my god, the critics said they thought she looked more like Babe than Babe. Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
That's awful.
That's fucked up, dude.
Yeah, why would you say that?
There were rumors circulating that she was having trouble in costume fittings.
What the fuck? Bro, that just shows you how far we've gone. Because, like, the people from the original, like, the other movies, they're, like, disturbingly skinny.
Yeah. I heard that she was in the costume department being cinched into a corset to fit into what they were going to try to do to the costume. So I did a cartoon of what I thought that would look like. I did it as a movie poster, Clueless 2, the casting of Batgirl. It was a private joke, just the guys in the art department. Then the joke got out. The production assistant put it up in his station, where of course Bob Ringwood, the costume designer, saw it and had a shit fit. I think the quote was, "She is trying so hard." Luckily for me, I never signed it, so I got to keep working. Ugh. She would have this secret life, and she and Robin would have more in common and very competitive with each other. Then I thought, why not do a set piece and make it fun for the audience? Blah, blah, blah. They're not saying anything. There was literally a Batman for every occasion, including that infamous Bat's ice skating scene. We had to have a lot of people for the ice skating. We had to have drivers. We had to have all these guys that could do the acrobatics. So stupid. We had several doubles for both Batman and Robin because each guy brought a different skill set. One guy had to do all the incredible skating. One guy had to do all the aerial gymnastics. And for Freeze, we would have a couple of other Arnolds standing around ready to get in their suits at any time. It was so easy to hide the real Arnold with all that stuff on. It's really important to the close-ups, and that's about it. Everyone else could be a double or a stunt person. It's so time-consuming and uncomfortable that we'd only use Arnold for what we needed Arnold for. Akiva Goldsman expressing concerns to Schumacher. Akiva was very leery about Batman and Robin. We had a couple of very serious discussions about it, and he was right about it in the long run. When you have something in the movie they can make toys out of, that's what he calls toyetic, which is what he was trying to do. Suddenly you're carrying what's called the tentpole movie of the year, which means that's going to carry all the other movies. So you're going to open whether you have something or not, because those spots in the summer are so sought after and so juggled around that you've got to piss on your ground or you're not going to have dates in the summer. And then it's like, oh my God, I'm opening, but now I have to make something to open with. It seems like you never have enough time, blah, blah, blah. All I'm going to say is I was a big boy. I chose to do it. I don't think I did my best job. That really bothers me. I remember a few journalists calling me and saying, there's a rumor that you felt you never got to make your Batman movie and that you had a secret script and that you were going to shoot that. Well, that's all fantasy. Because remember there was those rumors of the Batman Year One? I always wanted to do a whole Arkham movie and did a scene at the end of Batman Forever where Jim is in a straitjacket and Nicole Kidman comes to see him. And it was just a nod to Arkham Asylum, which I love. Let's see. Batman and Robin. It ended its box office run nearly 100 million short of Batman Forever's haul. It was such a scandal. It was like I had murdered babies or something. And in hindsight, I'd say, wasn't it in an innocent world where a Batman movie, which was from comic books, could be the nipples? That was the greatest. That was the absolute greatest. That two rubber things the size of a pencil erasers would be a big fucking deal. It's popular for all the wrong reasons now. Schumacher's 77 years old. I think I'm one of the luckiest people that ever lived. I got my dream. I got it so much bigger than I could have ever dreamed. You know, I'm just a kid whose parents died very young, who was on his own and grew up behind a movie theater before TV. And I wanted to tell those stories, and look what happened. Yeah, that's it. Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a fight of the week?
The only one I could feasibly think of was if you were like basically in the background, you're trying to kill Alfred while all this goes on.
No,
Just because, like,
push
get him
down
out of the way. There you go. Boom, done.
So how about instead of a different fight of the week, how would we rewrite this? Like, what movie would you do if you were taking up the reins after Batman Forever?
Okay, so I think, do I have to go in the same vein as Batman Forever?
No, you can do whatever you want, but you are following Batman Forever.
Okay, I think I would tone back on the silliness and the campiness. Okay.
But what's your story?
So my story would be to lean harder into the Nora Freeze story from the animated series. Try to make it a little more serious, a little more like dark, and a little more grounded. Not too much, but just a little more dark. Lean into that series. You can still have Poison Ivy. I think like we discussed, I'd try to not have her be like sex icon seducing everyone. I think I'd go more into the idea of that, like, she's this murderer who's going around killing people. And, like, she's getting progressively closer. In fact, I don't know, maybe she poisons Alfred instead, but without the kiss, preferably. You can keep Batgirl and you can keep Robin, but I think I would change Batgirl up a little bit. I think I'd rather her be, like, her own vigilante who's, like, inspired by Batman.
That's an interesting idea.
She's doing her own thing, but she's bad at it. And she keeps, like, screwing up. And, like, maybe she, like, by accidentally results in, like, something bad happening when she tries to capture Freeze or Poison Ivy. And so now Batman's, like, trying to figure out... Batman's trying to deal with Freeze, who's more serious. He's trying to deal with Poison Ivy, who he doesn't really understand or know what's going on there. And then he's also trying to get her in line. And you can have the Robin-Batman disagreement be more that Robin thinks this third Bat Vigilante needs to be given a chance, whereas Bruce is more like, no, she's, like, screwing things up for us. Try to lean more heavily into that. I mean, you have the most experience with, like, script writing and stuff here. What do you think?
Well, Everett, do you have any ideas?
Nothing really comes to mind. I might, if I were in control, I might do something where I show the actual origin of Mr. Freeze. Like, you start off the movie where he's normal Victor Freeze. Maybe you have him, like, work at Wayne Tech, and Bruce Wayne, like, knows about Nora Freeze and is trying to help him develop a cure, and maybe accidentally, indirectly causes him to become Mr. Freeze. Like, gives him, like, an equation or something, or gives him access to a machine that malfunctions. So Bruce Wayne has that guilt of turning him into Mr. Freeze. That could be something I'd add. But
So this is just off the top of my head right now. What if, like, you know how Catwoman disappeared?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What if Freeze was in love with her and she had the disease? Or something.
Interesting.
Or, like, she was, like, dead somehow. Like, she, like, you know how she was on her last life or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, like, she was dying and he couldn't figure out how to save her, so he froze her. And, you know, Batman catches wind of this and, you know, he initially stops Mr. Freeze from, like, committing his crimes to save, but then when he realizes it's for Selina, he, like, kind of falls back and, like, they're both in love with her now, in a way, in some way. It's kind of weird because you don't have the same actor, but you could hopefully get Michelle Pfeiffer at least, and otherwise you can't do it if you don't have Michelle Pfeiffer. And then so they're trying to rescue her, but then you need, like, a secondary villain that then becomes the main villain, who's, like, stopping them. Like, whatever they need to save Catwoman should be, like, whatever that villain has or is trying to get. I'm trying to think who, like, I wouldn't want to waste Scarecrow on this because it's not a waste, but I don't think his power set matches well with, like, Freeze. You know, you could do Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see him. I actually like how he's done in like, Batman Begins. So, like...
Yeah. Or Deathstroke.
Deathstroke is good, but Deathstroke is hard. Like, I feel like Deathstroke requires knowledge of fighting plus decent CGI.
I mean, this would never be allowed, but you could have Deathstroke employed by Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe you could do maybe you could do like it's Lex Luthor and Freeze who are in love with like Nora, even if it's not Catwoman. So you kind of remove Batman from that. So those two are like fighting over her body essentially.
And Batman has to try to...
In a way, something like that. You also have to figure out what to do with Robin.
Well, that's why I was thinking, like, because I don't mind the idea of having something that's like dividing Robin and Batman. Because like,
what if you kill Robin? What if you like he has to be frozen in order to be kept
Jason
alive?
Todd him?
No, not like kill him, but what if he's like he's gonna die, so Batman has to freeze him, and now he needs freeze.
Yeah, he could get poisoned maybe by like. Well, if you're gonna involve Poison Ivy, right? Let's say Poison Ivy's poisoning. He could be poisoned by Poison Ivy, and Batman freezes him. And since Mr. Freeze is like really good at make Mr. Freeze that he's not just good at solving specific. He should be like an amazing doctor who's like found all these. He's one of the best in the world, but he's also insane because he's just trying to cure his wife. And you could even put in like. Maybe the poison that killed Freeze's wife was originally from Poison Ivy, maybe not. But basically now Batman's like, okay, I need Freeze for Robin, but Freeze has his own issues with Lex, and there's like this big... Okay, that could work.
You know, this reminds me, in my graphic novel, I gave Alfred cancer. Like, I think it's the first book. I gave him cancer, and Mr. Freeze, played by Ed Harris, is a doctor who, like, he murdered a woman that you find out later. But he has technology to, like, send in, what do you call those, like, cells the like, micro cells that like, go into your body to do a job?
Nanites?
Yeah, something like that. He, like, has those that can go in and they'll freeze the cancer growth.
Ooh.
And so, like, that's, like, but he works for the Penguin because he's like, he murdered that woman and whatever. But yeah, so like that was, and so he gets Freeze to help Alfred, to keep Alfred alive. Okay, let's move on to the roundup. I only have one thing, which is I've been watching Mad Men.
Still great?
Yeah, it's a really, really good show. I don't really remember the ending that much, so I'm kind of excited to go back through that.
Ironically, the only thing I really remember is the ending. I just remember watching it with my mom, and like... being like, and my mom was like, it was significant to her.
I remember it was a weird ending.
Yeah.
I've been rewatching Sopranos. I'm going with that podcast, Talking Sopranos. So they do an episode a week. So I've been watching, like I caught up to them, and now I'm just gonna watch it one a week because I just watched it, but it's still so good. It's so weird. Like I just watched the whole thing, and then to just start over, you're immediately engrossed again. Do you guys have anything else?
A good show.
Yeah.
I watched some episodes of the animated new Justice League style series. It's called Young Justice. It was on for a while.
Are you away from your mic? Are you like too far away?
No, I'm in front of it.
Hey,
I don't know what's quiet. Going on. I don't know. It keeps changing. I'm not sure why. But anyways, here, I'll move it even closer. I've been watching this like Young Justice. It's the animated Justice League successor. It's okay. 20-minute long episodes. Some interesting story arcs. It's got like Lex Luthor working with Ra's al Ghul and Vandal Savage, and they're like intelligent. I'd give it a draw.
Is it on that DC streaming service?
I got it because it came with one of the movies I bought on the Xbox store.
Oh.
But I think it is also on the DC streaming service. I know some people love it beyond belief, but I think those are like kind of fanboys, and some people hate it, but I think that's because they just don't like animated shows. But it's decent.
Okay, Everett, you got anything?
Well, I'm still on my Sopranos watch. I finally got past the episode with the soccer coach. I rewatched it with my parents. My God, I don't think I've laughed harder at a television episode. I made notes for it. Like, I basically, like, what I wrote was, did you go through the entire episode with Tony and everyone loving the coach, and they're like trying to get him to stay, and then it turns out he's a fucking freak at the end. Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
Artie comes in to be like, we gotta like trust this guy or some shit like that.
They're like
And then-
treating him to like free dances at the strip club, and they give him a TV, even though
Yeah.
that's kind of extortion. But then like the line that you made me laugh at when we were playing Battlefield was he fucked that little alley girl, and who knows who else he fucked. He's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So there's that. Like Junior calls Tony a mental weakling, which for some reason made me laugh out loud really hard.
And then at one point, the coach, when they're delivering the TV, he goes to Paulie and he's like, "Look, Guido, I'm not going to be intimidated." And Paulie's like, "My name is Clarence."
It's so good. I'm so pumped to watch the rest.
When they're at the dinner table and they're like, Meadow's like, "She slit her wrist or whatever," and Tony's like, "Well, it's not like it was like freaking Cobain. Like it was just a little suicidal gesture." And Meadow storms out.
Yeah. I don't know, for some reason I have OJ in the missing tracksuit in my notes, but I don't know what joke that was.
Yeah, because that's when Melfi was teaching him what a suicidal gesture is, and he's like, what's like a real suicide attempt? Or like, no, she was telling him how the cuts are like they're like superficial cuts, not like life threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And he's
Yeah.
like, what's life threatening? OJ and the missing tracksuit, something like that. Because OJ like cut up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right. Going to gaming. I've been playing Mafia 3. This game has a really
I've
bad
noticed.
reputation. It's fucking good. Like there's some things that I have to look past. Like the graphics aren't right. It's not polished the way that it should be. And like I wouldn't praise a game that has that, but everything else about it, like people also say that it's repetitive. Yeah, these mafia empire type games where you like take over territory and you like build up your assets, that sort of thing, they tend to be a little repetitive in that way, right? But this game, and this is the one thing I got to praise it for, every time you go to a new district to like take it over and like take out the rackets and whatever, every time you do that, the locations are new. Like it's not like if you take down a warehouse, it's not like copy paste warehouse in each district. Like you see games that do that. Like you look at like Wildlands and Breakpoint. People don't say those are repetitive, but you can see a lot of copy pasted environments, and you end up fighting in like the same areas. This is not like that. This is like every time I go to a different district, I'm like exploring a new place, and the atmosphere of the game combined with the soundtrack is like second to none. Like I'm genuinely interested in this story. Do you guys know the story?
No.
It's pretty cool, man. Well, I should say that. Okay, so the first Mafia, which I looked up this YouTube video, like 10 unique things about the Mafia 1, which is an old game. I forgot how old it was. But it had like some groundbreaking things, like your car would be damaged in like specific ways, like stuff that was groundbreaking back then. Then Mafia 2, it's like an open world, but it does this cool thing where like you come back right at the end of World War II and you can hear like news reports on the radio. It's very like immersive that way. And then as time goes on, like the season will change. And so now the map is different. Like there's different weather now and different songs, different cars because time has passed and like stuff like that. So Mafia 3 is in the 70s. And you're in Louisiana, which is like super racist, right? You're a black guy, and you're in the bayou. It's called New Bordeaux is this town, but it's New Orleans essentially.
Okay.
And so like there are some storefronts that are whites only, and if you go in there, the owner will try to kick you out. If you're in black neighborhoods, the cops respond slower.
Interesting.
So the story is there's this guy, Lincoln Clay, who is like this big black guy who might be half Italian. They're not sure. The story is told to you like documentary style when everybody's old. So like the side characters will be giving interviews about you, your character, Lincoln Clay. And so basically what happens is he comes back from Vietnam and he goes to his old hangout bar. He had like a father figure that ran the bar, and they were like mixed into like criminal stuff, but like essentially like what the mafia was created for, which is like the government doesn't help you, so we help ourselves. So long story short, he robs the Federal Reserve with like some Italian mafia guys, and then they double cross him and they kill everybody. Like they kill his father figure and like his friends and whatever, and they kill Lincoln too, but he survives the gunshot wound. So then like a lot of time passes where he like recovers, and now you're back out on the street and you want to get revenge against the mafia. So essentially you're like the Punisher. And that you're roaming around these districts and you're hitting these businesses and you're going up like wildlands where you have like the leaders. I will say like the leaders themselves aren't as interesting, but like, I don't know, it's comparable. Like if you like that whole like underboss thing, this is comparable to that. But I like the actual mission design much better. Like, okay, you want me to interrogate this guy or kill this guy or destroy this merchandise, whatever. That's fine. It does get repetitive, but like I said, the locations are different. The soundtrack is unbelievable. Probably the best soundtrack of any game ever. And so like just getting in the car, driving around, I love it. I wish there was more things for me to buy. Like I found the guns that I like and I don't really need more guns. So I mean, I wish I could buy more clothes. Like they have like pre-made outfits you can buy. I wish I could buy more clothes. I wish I could buy more cars. They have pre-made cars that you can choose from and customize afterwards, but it's not really the same. One thing that it does have that is unbelievable, it has like that mechanic delivery service that GTA has, but it hasn't done properly.
How?
Because the guy just fucking shows up.
You don't have to make like 4 phone calls. He says no, and then he might appear, but it's 4 blocks away.
Yeah,
sorry, I can't get it to you right now.
Yeah, the only time he won't come is if you're already in a vehicle. So you have to get out of a vehicle, but then he drives right up to you. Somehow, like he doesn't just appear out of thin air, even though he does. But like somehow it always seems very like natural, like he was just around the corner. And they have the same thing with ammo. You can call an ammo supply guy to come to you. You could also, there's like a safe house woman. You could give her your money to be put in your safe, just right there. And you can also call in like hit squads, like stuff like that to help you out. Call the cops off. Very, very easy. You don't have to go through your cell phone or bullshit like that. And it works. And like each time you spawn, it'll just spawn the last car you used, like right there. Every time. Like it really helps. It could use a fast travel feature sometimes. I feel like I don't want to drive all the way to the end of the bayou, but the music rocks, so I drive. Like, who cares? But yeah, is there anything else for gaming, you guys?
Not particularly. It's just the endless drought. Did you say you've played? I saw you were playing Mafia 2, and now you're on Mafia 3, right?
Yeah.
Have you played Mafia 1, or are you gonna play Mafia 1?
Yeah, Mafia 1 is a fantastic game. It's just old. So the new one coming out on August 28th, I'm super excited for. Hopefully. Okay. But I'm a little worried that they're going to lose the charm. Like some of those older games had like some charm to them.
Right, a little bit harder. They get evolved.
Yeah, now it's like a massive, I don't know. Like I hope they don't conform to this bullshit mindset of like microtransactions and like, I don't know. Like in the first Mafia, you had to be trained how to unlock certain cars. So you couldn't just like rob any car you wanted. You had to actually build the skill up. So yeah. I imagine things like that will be gone.
Right.
I wonder.
Well, speaking of the difference between old and new games, I was looking at a post today on Reddit about the difference in takedown animations between Splinter Cell and Breakpoint.
Blacklist and Breakpoint?
Yeah, I believe it was Blacklist. Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you, Breakpoint doesn't look that much better considering all the years in between.
No, Breakpoint's terrible.
It was interesting. Our good old friend Can't Stop Fap showed up again to explain that Breakpoint is amazing and can do no wrong. But it is sad where it's like you look at these older games and yes, some parts of the newer ones look better, but they don't look good enough. And they especially aren't good enough compared to like what's been taken away.
Right.
And especially right now, just with all the drought in games in general, it's been, kind of disappointing.
Like, after I finished Mafia 3, which Mafia 2 is a little bit of a short game, if you ask me. But Mafia 3 is like, I mean, I've been playing it a lot, and it doesn't feel short. Hopefully Mafia 1 is as good and, like, imagined as well. And then there's The Last of Us 2, which is coming out.
Right.
So I'll be replaying the first one after Mafia 3.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Trailers, nothing that I'm aware of.
No, not that I've seen.
Everette smartass.
All right. So let's get started. So I've decided I'm going to start doing something over the next few weeks as you guys start winning more rounds, is depending on what round you win. So, for example, Emerson won, so one of my options for one of the weeks was 11 from Stranger Things. So since Emerson got that one right, you now have that as a trophy, sort of. Like, Kia got Roku, so you have Roku as a trophy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when are these trophies going to ship to us?
Yeah.
Not physical trophies. I'm going to incorporate it as the weeks go on. So just, that is a heads up. So, all right. So
Yeah, but what
would
do
you
the
guys
trophies
like to...
mean? Like,
well,
Are the
right now...
trophies worth different things, or are they each representative of 1 point?
Well, they're each worth 1 point, but what I mean is, like, over the next few weeks, as you guys start getting more questions right or wrong, maybe I'll come up with an intro for one of you, so since Kia has Roku, you could technically be called like a fully realized avatar, or Emerson, since you got Watchtower, you could be like a Justice Leaguer or something.
so you're trying to give us like nicknames like in Trivial
Keep
Pursuit?
the options open. Yeah, basically. Anyway, with my bullshit aside, what would you guys like to start with this week?
Didn't I choose last time?
Yeah, I think you did. So let's start with Thing this week.
Thing. Okay. All right, let's get started. So, I am sometimes referred to as the Fountain of Youth.
The Lazarus Pit?
Fuck, yeah, you got it.
Damn it, I was about to say that too.
Yeah.
That was fast, okay. All right. Place or person next?
Your turn, Kia.
Person.
Okay. I was designed by a special effects artist, Stan Winston, and by extension, James Cameron. I follow a strict code of honor. I have a trademark trill or growl. I do not originate on Earth. My vision operates in infrared.
Predator. The Predator.
Yep. Emerson got it.
I was thinking like those flying avatar things.
Yeah, that's where I was first too. I was like, what the fuck were they called?
Yeah.
and then he was like, but I was like, but wait, they don't have a code of honor. And I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss that? I don't remember that.
Okay, so the last one is place then. Ready? I am a mobile operations center. I am capable of independent powered flight. I use 4 turbine engines.
The shield
Helicarrier.
You both got it at the same time. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you guys no, you guys both got it at the same time.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I'm going to give you guys a hard-ass question. Let's see. Whoever gets it first. Let's pick one.
So
okay.
wait, we're just gonna throw out things until we get it?
Basically, a hard-ass question is I'm going to ask you a simple yes or no question. Or not a yes or no question. I'm going to ask you a question, and each of you gets an option, whoever says it first. Yes? It's basically a hard question.
Okay, wait.
It's a tiebreaker.
Okay, but is it the smart-ass thing where we can only say one thing?
We can't answer again?
Yeah. You only say one thing if you talk and get it wrong, and both of you get it wrong, I move on to the next question until someone gets it right.
Okay.
But so if I say the answer and it's incorrect, I can't talk until Kia also gets it wrong.
Yeah, until Kia also gets it wrong or gets it right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, ready? So out of the list I have, how many live-action Star Wars movies are there?
9?
10?
No, both wrong.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it is.
What was it?
It's 11,
It's 12. It's 12.
Oh.
What the fuck? Okay.
Wait.
Oh,
Rogue
fuck,
One?
I forgot about Solo.
Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, Solo, Rogue One, A New Hope, Holiday Special, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi,
What?
Force Awakens. It counts.
Whatever.
It counts. Okay.
It's a holiday special.
It counts. It's a movie it aired that has the entire cast. It counts. Ready?
Is it a movie or is it a special?
It's a movie. It's a full-length movie.
I don't think it's a motion picture.
Are we gonna?
I did research on this. It's definitely a movie. It counts.
Let's just see what it's described as. Holiday special. It's an hour. The Star Wars Holiday Special is a 1978 American television special set in the universe. That doesn't sound like a movie.
It has the entire full-length cast. It's canonized. It takes place between episode 4 and 5.
You're
or 5 and
objective.
6.
Moving the goalposts.
Yeah, you're whatever. We didn't even say 11, but
Okay, you didn't. You're fine. You didn't get it right anyway.
Wait, did I say 11?
Yeah, you said 11.
I said
You
11.
said it-
Yeah,
you said
I said
you
11.
But you said it after you already said like 10.
Yeah,
Emerson
but
said
I
nine.
said 10.
Yeah, but
You didn't
Emerson. I said 9. Emerson said 10. So then I said 11. I win.
Yeah, but you both got it wrong, so I have to move on to a new question.
No, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. It's not a movie. It's a television special.
Okay,
And you said
fine.
you looked it up. I don't know what you looked up because it's clearly not a movie. There's an advertisement in the TV guide.
Okay, fine. You wanna cheat at my own rules?
Everett, why would you say you looked it up to confirm
I did look it up.
Where does it say it's a movie?
Where does it say? Because it says right here on Wikipedia, television special. It's called a special. Everyone knows what that means.
It has everyone in the cast in it.
Yeah, but
George
you
Lucas
said you looked it up. It's a movie.
Okay, you know what?
Dude, okay.
Here,
Go
I'm gonna look
to
up Star
Wikipedia.
Wars movies.
Hold on. Go to Wikipedia. Look at the image that they have there on the top left corner. Tell me what it says.
Star Wars Holiday Special.
Open the Wikipedia page. Look at the picture. Top left corner.
Top left. All right, hold on. It's loading. What do you mean the top left corner? I see the poster. Holiday Special.
Yeah, the top left corner of the poster.
Yeah, an all new television special. So what?
So if I look up Star Wars films on Wikipedia, it does not appear in the list. It appears as a produced for television spin-off holiday TV special.
The only reason why I counted it was because A, George Lucas says it's in the Star Wars canon. B, it has every single person, every main character from the original movies in
That doesn't mean it's a movie.
Wait. It's the 1978 Star Wars special?
it. Yeah.
George Lucas loathed the special and forbade it to be re-aired or released on home video.
Yeah, it's well
But
known.
you just said he liked it.
No, I didn't say he liked it. I said it's canon. He hates that thing. I think one of his quotes is, "If I had the time and a sledgehammer, I'd track down every single copy of that show and smash
canon
it."
alongside such films as The Ewok Adventure and Ewoks: The Battle for Endor.
Yeah, but those weren't live action. That was like
It's
an
a
animated
special.
show.
A special is not a movie.
Okay.
It's a one-off.
All right, fine. If it's fine, then I'll grant you that win, and let's end it for the week. So the score as of right now
You said you looked it up.
I did look it up. The score right now is Emerson 5, Kia 4.
All right. Works for me. All right. Moving on to news. They are not recasting Batwoman. The showrunner
heard about this.
explains. I did consider the soap opera version. Okay, wait, what? Batwoman showrunner Caroline Dries explained what led to this decision to not simply recast Kate Kane. I did consider the soap opera version for a hot minute selfishly because we had a couple episodes already written and transition-wise, it would be seamless since they already started breaking season 2. But upon further reflection, and Greg Berlanti helped me make this call, and he's way smarter than me about this stuff. He's like, I think we should just reboot the character in terms of reboot Batwoman as a different character. Just to also respect everything that Ruby Rose... So they're basically just tossing it. I just think it helps the audience a little bit too, that we're not asking them to not address the elephant in the room. I'm inventing a whole new character in her past. She was inspired by Batwoman. She's going to take on the mantle and is completely maybe not be the right person at the time to be doing it. That's what makes it fun. Wow, so they're literally just like pretending so Ruby Rose's thing just ends and that's that.
Yikes.
Interesting. Frank Grillo reflects on Captain America and he wants to play the Punisher. I still train every day with a boxing trainer and do strength training, but when you're making a movie where you put a lot of things, where you have a lot of things going on and have a lot of choreography to remember, you do it over and over, your mind gets worn down as well as your body and you're exhausted all the time. Grillo talked once about wanting to play the Punisher, but admitted it's a role he now sees as being off the table. That's not in my trajectory now. It's not where my life is taking me anymore, and my friend Johnny Bernthal did an amazing job.
Okay.
He could have been okay. I mean, I'm glad that they're not ruling out John Bernthal. Hollywood Productions may be able to resume work this month.
Yeah, I heard about that. A lot of them are like talking about like June 14th and stuff.
This is an article, 10 X-Men, 10 potentially amazing spin-offs. Thought it might be fun. There's X-Men Origin, which was kind of like what they did in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Okay.
Yeah. There's the Excalibur storyline. I don't really know Excalibur. I don't know. It would be a UK story, Captain Britain's big screen debut.
Okay.
I guess, is Excalibur like a team name maybe? Age of Apocalypse again. Yeah, I mean, They're saying like the MCU now has time travel, so an Age of Apocalypse story could be done again properly. A Cable story? I don't know.
I couldn't see that being like sustainable on its own.
Yeah. Also, movies, like, to make a movie is a lot of money, and then also to like hype up a movie and sell the movie, that's a lot for a character like, what's his name? It could be a Disney Plus thing. X Factor, it's just like a team of different mutants. I don't care for that shit. Starjammers, another team.
What the
Space
hell?
Pirates, led by Cyclops and Havoc's father. Who cares? Whatever. Alpha Flight. Another
are these
superhero
things?
team. They're just like stupid teams of mutants.
Half
Dakin,
these things I barely even
Dark
remember.
Wolverine. Do you guys? Dakin is Wolverine's son, who he only actually found out about a few years back. And
Is that the guy with the 3 claws? Like one's coming out of his wrist or something?
Yeah, in this picture he only has 2. I don't know. Okay. Wolverine's son. I guess you would need Wolverine first. X-Force. I could see them doing a movie like what was that one I just watched with Will Smith, Gemini Man?
Where they fight each other.
Can you imagine like Wolverine and Wolverine's like son, but it's his clone?
Yeah, actually. Well, that's kind of what happens in Logan, right?
Imagine if that was the movie that introduces Wolverine. That could potentially work.
Yeah. You'd have to be careful with it, though. Very careful.
Yeah, I do hear your echo a tiny bit now, Emerson. I don't know why. Mandalorian Season 2 release date is going to be October. Why do they... Like, okay, it says
That was
confirmed
fast.
release date, but it doesn't have... Yeah, that is really fast. It doesn't say the actual date. It just says October.
Well, one of the things I've seen on Mandalorian behind the scenes is they film most of their stuff in like this weird circular CG setup thing. Have you seen the pictures I'm talking about?
It's.
No.
I think it's kind of cool. It helps
It
them
is
imagine the
cool.
set more.
Basically, almost everything
it
they're
shows
acting
you?
on, almost
Yeah.
everything they're acting on is they're inside this giant circle, and the circle is a screen, and it becomes the background of whatever they want it to be.
Wow.
And the thing is that, like, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but that's how they're able to, like, shoot these out so quickly because
Yeah.
they don't have to go anywhere.
But that will show up in the story, because think about it, like that has to limit you.
Oh, 100%. In fact, I bet you that's why so much of it is just him being in one place.
It's him talking to people, and then there's like a quick action thing, and then they like move to a different location.
Yep.
So they don't have to build sets and all that, but there's a reason why you can't do like... That's why every episode seems so like build up to something and then nothing, because there's nothing there.
And it's also why, if you notice, most of the episodes, the action sequences, especially the episodes with more action, are filmed on almost completely level ground. Which you
Right.
don't think about that until you like think about how boring that is. Like,
It's true,
do you remember
yeah.
when he broke that the criminals out of that spaceship?
Yeah.
You can absolutely see how that was filmed in that style.
Yeah.
They're just walking around.
You know who else used similar technology? First Man. They didn't film it like that, but when they were in the shuttle, they had like a big screen that was actually showing them what they were supposed to be looking at.
And I mean, it works for that.
It makes
But,
sense, yeah.
but I don't know, it kind of, like, it's amazing technology, what they're using, but it's kind of disturbing where it's like, I guarantee you most of the Disney shows will be shot like this, the live action ones, because why
Yeah.
not? And it's like,
That's not
now
good.
we're getting into this mass-produced, very cookie-cutter style.
Yeah. Ahmed Best talks about Jar Jar returns. He says, I would return as Jar Jar Binks, but it really depends on the story. That's actually really funny. Oh, I have a couple of more things about Mandalorian. We all loved Boba Fett, this is Jon Favreau, but we never got as much of him as we all wanted. He came to an unceremonious end in The Return of the Jedi. We wanted somebody that could kind of live up to what we had hoped to see when we were younger. I mean, I guess they did kind of achieve that. Bryce Dallas Howard reveals how meme-worthy Baby Yoda moment was created. Is Bryce Dallas Howard in the second one?
I think she directed
season?
one of them. She directed stuff in the first season.
Is that why? Because she wasn't in it. Yeah, who helmed the episode. That scene. Okay. It was the scene where he sipped from the bowl. She said her kids really love Baby Yoda.
Well, who doesn't at this point?
So they just came up with moments so that people would know where the baby was, because the kids were constantly asking about the baby. That's stupid. Hercules, rumored to make his debut in upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe project. I don't know if I like the sound of this. The Prince of Power has been rumored to release, and possibly the Eternals. Now his name is connected with a future MCU movie or project. The legendary Olympian hero is set to make his live-action debut in the near future. It sounds like it's going to be a Disney Plus thing. I don't know. I don't understand how Hercules fits into.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because like Hercules, that's more like Wonder Woman territory, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Josh Trank says there was heavy pushback for trying to cast a black Sue Storm. Remember, everyone was mad about him and the sister about how they were like he was black but she wasn't.
Yeah.
There were a lot of controversial conversations that were had behind the scenes on that. I was mostly interested in a black Sue Storm and a black Johnny Storm and a black Franklin Storm. When you're dealing with the studio on a massive movie like that, everyone wants to keep an open mind to who the big stars are going to be. Margot Robbie was an example as a Invisible Woman. When it came down to it, I found a lot of pretty heavy pushback on casting a black woman in that role. When I look back on that, I should have just walked when that realization hit me. Just out of principle, those aren't the values I stand for in my own life. Interesting.
Why? I wonder why there was pushback on her but not Johnny Storm. That seems stupid, does it not?
Michael B. Jordan, was he a bigger star then?
I mean, he was known.
He was in Chronicle, and that's really all I remember him from.
Hey, here's a Michael B. Jordan trivia for you. In that episode where young Tony is having, like, he's in the flashback, and he's going to go see his dad at the park.
Yeah.
And he's being followed by, it's Sopranos if I didn't say that. And he's followed by the three black kids. Do you remember that scene, Everett?
Repeat it. Sorry, you cut out a little bit.
Did I?
Yes.
When in Sopranos where he has the flashback where he's going to go see his father at the park with his sister, and he gets off the bus, and the three black kids yell at him for littering.
Oh, and they like chase him down the street. Yeah.
One of those kids is Michael B. Jordan.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
All right. Last bit of news: DC Comics has ended their relationship with Diamond Distributors, and they have made a deal with someone else somewhere, Lunar Distribution and UCS Comic Distribution, and Penguin Random House for graphic novels. So apparently this is good news, because apparently Diamond Distributors had like a monopoly, and I guess they went out of business. So yeah,
Good.
all right. So for next week, wasn't there a movie coming out on Netflix around this like this week?
Maybe. Let's look.
There was something like in mid-June.
Netflix movies 2020. I remember what you were talking about.
There's something we wanted to see.
We already hit Extraction.
Oh, The Five Bloods. The Five Bloods?
Oh, yeah. The Five Bloods. Yep.
You guys want to watch that?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
And then besides that, I was thinking, do you guys want to watch Catwoman?
Yes.
Can we do it as a commentary? Because that's something you'd want
I
to
guess.
watch
I mean, if Jade,
commentary.
we'll see what Jade says. I don't know.
Why? Well, you know, Jade. She technically was gonna be here for the first episode.
Yeah, it makes her nervous, but also, I'm trying to think logistically, how could we watch it together and do a commentary? Because I'd have to watch it in the living room.
Which is louder.
Or, like, I don't know if she can sit next to me. I don't know. I'd have to
You
think
guys could
about
share
that.
a mic.
Yeah, but then we have the computer in front of us and the TV playing in the background, which would get on the mic. It would have to be on the computer so that the computer doesn't hear the noise.
Right. And you'd need a headphone splitter.
Well, we have we could each wear an AirPod.
Okay, yeah.
But I'd still have to, like, find a place where we could sit next to each other with the mic at a normal place. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
See it.
Thank you for listening to the Iron Coop Fights Movies. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, review our podcast on iTunes so that we can spread the show around. To contact the show, you can reach us at theironcoob@gmail.com and on Instagram at theironcoob. Join us for another edition of the Iron Coop Fights Movies.